Hi, Misfits. This is Kevin.
And this is Kate.
Welcome to Horrorwood. I was going to do the do-do-do-do-do-do, but no. Welcome to Horrorwood.
I thought you forgot the name of the show for a second.
Welcome to Blorder Blues.
You were like, welcome to Horrorwood.
Yeah. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
I'm good. It's September, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
Have you had your pumpkin coffee yet?
Not today.
Okay, I'm in shock.
I'm in shock too, but it's going to happen later.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, because I woke up and I really wanted a sausage biscuit.
Sure.
And I was just like, I haven't had one in like months. I really want one.
Yeah.
So I ordered McDonald's for breakfast and got a coffee from there, but they didn't have the pumpkin syrup. They normally have it.
Oh, but they were out.
But it wasn't on the menu.
Oh.
On Uber Eats.
Can I tell you about McDonald's breakfast?
Yeah.
When I was in high school and my senior year, I had a hand-me-down car and I was finally able to drive.
Yes.
So my thing every morning before school was I would pull in through the McDonald's drive-thru and get myself a biscuit and then roll up into my homeroom and be like, sup, bitches.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
I don't know why I thought I was so cool with the McDonald's
I would have thought
biscuit.
you were very cool.
Thank you.
I would have sat in the back and be like, that girl knows what's up and where it's at.
Even though like the car was breaking down and I never
Who
had
cares?
gas.
You had a McDonald's biscuit every morning.
True. And now my belly shows it.
Worth it.
Before we get started, I have to shout out our newest Patronian, Wendy Evans. This is your shout out.
Wendy, the Wendy City.
Oh, she actually is from here.
Yeah.
So that worked. Oh,
Thank
you did that on purpose.
I did.
Well, good job.
Yay.
You're on top of things.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
She's
Wendy,
our
thank you.
newest Misfit Murderino, so she's getting those bonus episodes, and we so appreciate your support.
And those bonus episodes are fun.
I think so, too.
I feel like the last few we've done, Kate, have been really like a good time.
There's some interesting ones on there. Like, I felt like the Glenn Close one that you did was a different kind of case from anything that we've done before, and I thought that was really cool.
And the one that you did about that girl in Wisconsin.
Oh, Jesse Blodgett. Yeah.
Jesse Blodgett. That was crazy.
We got Phil Hartman on there. We got Kelsey Grammer on there.
There's so many.
So thank you, Wendy. And welcome to the Misfit Murderino Club.
Here we go. Here we are.
And then,
Update.
I do have an update. So we posted it on our story last week, if you happen to see that. But the Amy Harwick case, her alleged killer is currently on trial, Gareth Pursehouse. And
How do you spell that?
Gareth, but it doesn't matter because he's a fuckface.
I heard you say Pursehouse.
Oh, Pursehouse is his last name, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's what I meant. The last name.
Purse, like purse.
Pursehouse.
House.
A house, that's a purse. Cha-cha-cha, he's terrible.
He's terrible. And I was watching the opening statements and oh my God.
Oh.
Like, if they don't convict him of first-degree murder, because that's what it was.
Right.
Allegedly. And listening to the opening statements between the attorneys, it's just like, to be a juror on that case, I don't know how you could sit through that.
No.
Just, it's really horrific. They're clearly his defense is clearly trying to go for like a manslaughter case or conviction. No. Like, there's ring video. There's text messages.
Are they going to go for voluntary manslaughter?
You really hate that.
I fucking hate voluntary manslaughter.
I hate any kind of manslaughter.
I don't like when people get hurt or die.
Because this is actually a really sad case that
you're fucking doing. Awful.
I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Today we're talking about the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
You are about to enter another dimension.
I am.
A dimension not only out of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land of imagination. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Did we just get sued?
We might have.
Okay.
I feel like that has to be in public domain now. It's from the 50s.
I thought it was 70s.
1959.
Oh, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Anywho, that is the intro to the popular series, The Twilight Zone, a fictional horror anthology series that ran for 5 seasons on CBS from October 2nd, 1959. I don't know why I said that. That sounded like a Maryland accent. Like, from October 2nd, 1959.
I didn't even hear that.
I did. I was, surprised. To June 19th, 1964.
Okay. You know what? I think I was thinking 70s because of the movie.
Yeah, well, there's movies and there's been multiple reboots.
Sure.
And, yeah, this is one of the most popular TV series of all time. So it still gets aired and talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
It was created and presented by Rod Sterling. And it's widely regarded, as I just said, as one of the best television series of all time, according to several listicles.
Several of them.
Magazines and publications.
Okay.
And organizations.
And charities.
And charities.
And foundations.
And buildings. And world
pets.
leaders.
Political figures. And
Congress.
Rock stars.
The series has been revived multiple times. In 1985, 2002, and most recently 2019. I think it was... Okay, I'm going to blank on his name, and I shouldn't. He did Get Out. He did Us.
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I think Jordan Peele had a hand in this.
Okay.
Because I feel like I've seen clips of him doing the intro as the intro guy.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to watch that. I need to figure out what it's on.
It's a series of 2019?
It's a series,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still going. I'll look that up in a minute. So the series is this crossroads of science fiction, horror, and fantasy, telling stories that usually have some kind of moral lesson in the end.
Sure.
Very in tune with popular culture at the time and things that are going on.
Keeping it topical. So because The Twilight Zone was such a hit in popular culture and through decades, Warner Brothers made an anthology movie with Steven oh my God. Spielberger. I kind of like that name,
I do too. Did you see The Fabelmans?
No.
I did not like it. I'm sorry, hot take. I apologize to
Hey, everyone's
fans.
opinion
Everyone
is
has
welcome here.
And it's not that it's not a good story and it wasn't very beautifully acted.
Sure.
But it didn't catch me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steven Spielberg was
Not
attached. Not Spielberger. That sounds like a porn name, like a porn actor.
Okay, my mind went, oh, that sounds like a restaurant.
Oh.
Like Spielberger.
Yeah, that too.
And you went,
sorry.
Porn.
Starring Steven Spielberger and John Steele. I don't know. I can't. I'm in that space where...
You're in the Twilight Zone.
I'm in the... Kate.
Kevin.
That's what I'm going to call it when I can't think of words.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the Twilight Zone. And then I'll just walk away from a conversation.
Yes. Leave them wanting more.
Right. What? So, yeah, he was attached as a producer and a director for one of the film's segments. The movie's title is Twilight Zone, the movie.
Really not bearing the lead at all.
No.
Just like, here it is.
It's like the Lizzie McGuire movie. We know what that's about.
Yeah.
I know what this is. It's not, to me, it's not super interesting because it was essentially just remakes or retellings of really popular Twilight Zone TV show episodes.
Oh, okay. That I did not know.
I think most of them are. I'll go through a short synopsis of what they were about.
Okay.
But the movie was rated PG and held the tagline, on June 24th, 4 acclaimed directors, George Miller, John Landis, Joe Dante, and Steven Spielberg, take you to another dimension.
The Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. So on June 24th, 1983, Twilight Zone the movie opened to mixed reviews. It sounds like people thought it was just kind of meh.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it in its entirety.
Yeah.
But I read mostly about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not available for free on streaming, and I did not feel like paying $5
I hear you.
to watch a movie that nobody really likes that much. I don't want to do that.
No.
However, I don't need to have seen it to know what had happened around it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't perform super well at the box office when it first came out, but it has since grossed an estimated $29 million worldwide.
Which sounds like a lot of money.
It does sound like a lot. Well, and the budget was $10 million.
Okay.
But I'm wondering how long between like when it came out and then did that gross that much money. Because it doesn't sound like the studio was making their money back when it first hit box offices.
Got it.
I think the opening weekend was like $6 million.
Isn't that weird that like a movie makes $6 million and is considered a flop?
Yeah.
If I had
$6
million,
I'd feel like set for life.
Exactly.
Well, nowadays, who knows?
Yeah. Well, 6 months at least.
Right. Exactly. In this political and social and financial climate, this is
the Twilight Zone.
Horrorwood Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it is.
So the movie was an anthology consisting of 4 separate segments that were each helmed by those different directors mentioned. There was a prologue, which was like the opening sequence. It was written and directed by John Landis and stars Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks. 2 men are driving along a road and talking about which episodes of the original Twilight Zone that they found most terrifying.
I see.
I won't give away what happens next because it's gruesome.
Ooh.
Oh.
I mean, I think you can give it away.
Can
it's
I?
like
I mean,
40 years
the
old.
passenger turns into he's like, what about, is this scary? And turns into a monster and eats the driver.
Well, then, yeah, I'd say that's scary.
I kind of want to watch it now that I'm talking about this. Maybe we should watch it together.
Yeah, we should.
So the first segment of the movie was titled Time Out. And this is the bad one, just as a foreshadowing heads up.
Is this John Landis's?
Yeah, this is
so.
John
Yeah,
Landis's,
I do know about this.
Mm-hmm. This was actually a reworking of the original Twilight Zone episode titled Back There.
Okay.
About a man who leaves a club after having a conversation about time travel, only to find that he's been transported to the past. Doo-doo-doo. This segment was also written and directed by John Landis. Mm-hmm. I think I said that already. Oops. So the second segment was a remake of the episode Kick the Can, which was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Spielberg.
I know. And I did it on purpose.
Okay.
An elderly man named Mr. Bloom has just moved into Sunnyvale Retirement Home, where he gets tired of hearing the residents reminisce about the joyful experiences of their youth.
Oh.
He's like,
he's
y'all,
one of those.
We can still have a good time.
Yeah.
You need to stop living in the past, start living in the future.
Okay.
And maybe take some Percocets. I don't know what
Sure.
you need to do to feel better.
Yeah. To each his own.
This leads to Bloom inviting the residents to a special game of Kick the Can.
Oh.
Where they are transformed back into children.
Oh, I see. You look really into that.
I kind of want to watch this now.
Yeah, you do.
The third segment was a remake of the episode It's a Good Life, and was directed by Joe Dante, about a woman named Helen Foley who is on her way to a new job when she stops by a rural bar for directions.
Okay.
She's a little bit lost. She meets a young boy, Anthony, at the bar.
A young boy at the bar?
Yeah.
I have questions.
I have questions too.
Okay.
I think he's just hanging out.
Like
not
one does.
I don't think he's drinking, but apparently he's like being bullied by some bar regulars or something. They're just being mean to the kid.
Well, maybe the kid shouldn't be in the bar.
I asked myself that same question when I was a child because I got yelled at
every time you walked into the bar.
Every time I walked into the bar and they're like, Kevin, go home. And I'm like, I want to play with the pool balls.
I have so many thoughts.
And don't do that because then mean old drunks will yell at you.
You just wanted to play with balls.
I just wanted to play with the pool balls. I don't even know what was happening. I was like 7.
Okay.
I was
you
you
were just a 7-year-old in a bar.
Doing?
You just wanted to play with balls.
I did, Kate. That's all I wanted to do. And
all you've ever wanted to do.
Oh, Helen. Helen Foley from this segment of
yes.
the Twilight Zone movie.
I picked up on that.
Thank you. She, so Anthony, but then she goes to leave the bar and she backs into him with her car.
Oh, this took a turn.
No, but it's not hurting him. He was on his bike and just fell over. And I guess like she mangled the bike, not him.
Okay.
He can't get anywhere now. So she's like, let me give you a ride home. And she meets his very interesting family. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I think there might be a little bit of a kidnapping situation.
Oh.
The fourth and final segment is a remake of the episode titled Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which was directed by George Miller. During a rough flight through a treacherous thunderstorm, passenger John Valentine is having a panic attack in the bathroom.
This is my nightmare.
He looks out the window. Do you know this one?
I don't know.
He looks out the window and sees a gremlin on the window of the plane.
No, I don't know this one.
Gremlins and planes are like a thing.
What?
Because I think it's lore. But
Sure.
there's other movies about gremlins and planes. I watched one with Chloe Grace Moretz recently called
I love her.
Shadow in the Cloud. It's on Hulu,
Okay.
I think. It's bananas, but it's about gremlins and World War II airplanes.
Okay. I know there are people listening right now who were like, yeah, totally. I know all about this. I've never heard of
I
it.
think, that's my next episode.
Okay.
The gremlins are famous. I wrote as a joke, this will soon be a gremlin lore podcast. Just kidding, it won't be.
I really like when you write your jokes.
Because when I read them, it's like, I forget that I wrote them and I go back to it and I'm like, oh, well, now the flow is gone.
I just like that you say, I wrote this joke.
I wrote this
and
joke.
then you tell the joke. That's one of my favorite things.
So the first segment of this film, Time Out, was the subject of much controversy, similar to The Exorcist, led to the film's status as a cursed movie. I don't know about that, though.
I will say right now, it's not cursed.
It's not cursed. It's just a freak accident actually not even a freak accident.
Yeah, not even that.
We'll get to it. I want to talk about a few things before we talk about that.
Great.
Unfortunately, the production of this movie would mean the death of 3 people during filming, and it was all caught on camera. So we'll dive into the accident much more, but I first want to talk a little bit about actor Vic Morrow, who starred in this segment of this movie. So the main character of the segment, Bill Connor, is played by actor Vic Morrow, who was born on February 14th, 1929 in the Bronx. He was born to Jean and Harry Morrow. His parents were both His parents were both Russian Jewish immigrants. Morrow dropped out of high school when he was 17 to pursue a career in the U.S. Navy.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
I have a feeling that was not uncommon back then.
It doesn't sound like it back at that time.
Right.
So after leaving the Navy, Morrow studied pre-law at Florida State.
Okay.
During college, he joined the cast of a play and actually ended up liking acting more than law.
Go figure.
I get it.
Yeah.
I wrote that too. ... I get it.
Exclamation point.
Actually, it's a period.
Oh.
He went back to New York and went to the Actors Workshop to hone his performance skills. When he graduated, he appeared in a summer stock production of A Streetcar Named Desire.
Okay.
He eventually made his on-screen debut when he was signed to MGM to play a street punk in the 1955 movie Blackboard Jungle. He was typecast as a heavy. What does heavy mean?
I think that means someone who's gonna...
Like brutish, big guy.
Yeah, like
bully.
The muscle. Like if he has to
okay.
like say it's a movie about these bad guys who were like gonna go rough someone up to get some money, and he's the heavy. I think that's what that means.
I looked it up and I just couldn't find a clear explanation.
I don't know that my explanation was clear.
Well,
but...
I mean, I think we can kind of surmise what they're talking about. But I wrote, I don't know what this means exactly, but I think a tough man.
That sounds great.
That wasn't a joke. That was just me
That was just
speculating.
Just giving your statement.
He did not like being typecast at all.
I don't think anyone does.
He just felt pigeonholed. And he didn't like it so much that he ended up leaving MGM after just a few years.
Oh, okay.
and went back to school to study directing at the University of Southern California.
Oh, wow.
He did some acting here and there after that contract with MGM, but then he got the role that made him like a hero. And it was on the TV show Combat, which started in 1962, and he played Sergeant Chip Saunders, who was a veteran squad leader.
Okay.
I think it's a World War II drama series, is
okay.
what it sounded like. The series ran for 5 seasons.
It's pretty good.
And after that, Morrow had some trouble finding some steady acting work.
I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah. He slid back into that heavy typecasting and mainly found work in TV movies and B movies.
Okay. Not what actors
Not
really
what they
want to go
want,
for.
Right. But he also did some work in theater here and there as he was, bouncing back and forth between TV shows. Morrow had 2 marriages that didn't last too long. One was to Gail A. Lester and one to Barbara Turner, with whom he had 2 children, Carrie Ann Morrow and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Did not know that.
Me neither.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
After many years of struggling in film and dealing with the death of his mother, he made a comeback of sorts when he landed the role of the loudmouth bigot Bill Connor in the Twilight Zone movie.
Got it.
So this was like he was coming back because this was a big movie,
Right,
right?
right.
Leading up to it,
Huge
produced by
directors.
Steven Spielberg, like Warner Brothers, all types. It was in his favor to take this part. Famed Hollywood director at the time, John Landis, was directing that first segment and the prologue. Landis had some big directing credits under his belt at this time. Horror classic An American Werewolf in London from 1981, which I still haven't seen. I've seen An American Werewolf in Paris from like the late 90s.
Yeah, I feel like that's the one I've seen.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to watch that too. Ooh.
Feels like a double feature coming on.
Shadow in a Cloud.
Gremlins.
Kate, there's a gremlin on the plane.
Get these
gremlin pops.
motherfucking gremlins off this motherfucking plane.
I would try to keep one as pets.
Where is Samuel L. Jackson when we need him?
When you need him. A gremlin pops out of your sweaters, and I'm like, oh. And you're like, oh.
Something I meant to tell you.
I meant to tell you, when I went to Five Below, I found this.
Just a $5 gremlin.
And I thought it was fake.
Turns out.
It's real. You hear like in the background.
We're really
we're off the chain.
We're in a moment.
So yeah, American Werewolf in London in 1981, The Blues Brothers in 1980, big one.
Yep.
And National Lampoon's Animal House in 1978, another big one. Landis is also known for directing Michael Jackson's Thriller video.
Oh yeah.
And the comedies Trading Places, Three Amigos, and Spies Like Us.
All right.
He was a big timer.
Not a bad resume.
Nope. So, as previously stated, the segment that Morrow was in dealt with the time travel stuff. And he was like this loud bigot guy who, was very against like any other nationalities.
Yeah, because he was like a racist, and so like
Racist,
one thing,
yeah.
like he traveled back and he was a black man who was being like, wasn't
Right.
that part of it?
Yeah, exactly. So his character kept being transported back to different wars to experience what those people had to go through. So he went back to Klan era South. He went to Nazi Germany and the Vietnam War. And he's mistaken for the people that he was making fun of previously.
Right.
The ending of this segment was meant to be a culmination of fire and stunts, like it's wartime in Vietnam. I don't mean to try to make that sound exciting, but from a film standpoint, like I think that's what they're going for. Like big effects are going to happen. And it ends up with Morrow being chased by a military helicopter, which was a Bell UH-1 Iroquois helicopter, which was a utility military helicopter designed and produced by American company Bell Helicopter. I'm going to say helicopter a lot. It was the first turbine-powered helicopter in service with the United States military. The helicopter was being piloted by an actual Vietnam War veteran, Dorsey Wingo, and contained 5 other passengers. Morrow's character was working to save 2 Vietnamese children, carrying them across a river to safety as their village burned in the background. This scene was the last one to be shot for the film, and the crew was preparing for a wrap party afterwards. It was being filmed at Indian Dunes Park, a movie ranch in Valencia, California, which I guess is about 40 miles outside of LA.
Mm-hmm.
The two children were a little boy, Micah Din Lee, age 7, and a little girl, Renee Shinyi Chen, age 6. And I apologize if I butchered those names.
No, I think that's right.
I tried to look up the pronunciations, but...
I think that was actually spot on.
Good. Yay! Due to poor planning and not enough rehearsal time, everything went woefully wrong.
I mean, this
is
what...
So allegedly due to planning and not enough rehearsal time, because this we'll get to it.
Sure.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say this is what makes this case so tragic, is that back then there weren't a lot of safety protocols in place on film, if any. And I'm sure you're going to get to this, but these children were hired illegally.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'll let you get to all of that, but it's something that could have been prevented.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no question. So during filming, pilot Dorsey Wingo stationed the helicopter 25 feet from the ground while hovering near an explosion effect. Mm-hmm. He started to turn the aircraft 180 degrees to the left for another camera shot. The effect was detonated, the explosion, before the tail of the helicopter was out of the way. They called these like mortar effects. So like the metal lid from that burst and hit the tail of the helicopter, causing the rotor to fail and detach from the tail. Wingo lost control of the craft and it started to spin out. Mm-hmm. It crashed into the river where Morrow was with the two Vietnamese children on each arm, shooting the scene to get to safety. Mm-hmm. It crashed right into them and immediately killed Morrow and both children. Mm-hmm. He was 53 years old at the time, Vic Morrow. Morrow and Micah Din Lee were decapitated, and Renee was crushed by the helicopter because she had fallen into the water and he had gone down to pick her up. Mm-hmm. So when the helicopter came down, it decapitated both of them and then crushed her. But this doesn't make it better, but they were killed pretty much instantly.
Right. What hurts my heart the most is, their parents were there on set.
Actually, I don't think they were there, but I don't believe that they were watching when it was filmed.
That's good.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case.
From what it sounds like, I'll get into where they were. Because the parents testified during the trial about what had happened. And their stories matched up.
I see. Okay.
Perfectly. This is a weird thing. Morrow had a kind of a premonition years earlier that he would be involved in a helicopter accident.
Oh.
While filming Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry in 1973, he is reported to have insisted on getting a $1 million life insurance policy before shooting any scenes with the helicopter he was meant to be riding in for the film.
Oh.
He reportedly said, quote, "I have always had a premonition I was going to die in a helicopter crash."
That is weird.
Isn't it? So shortly before he started filming Twilight Zone, he allegedly told a production assistant, quote, "I must be out of my mind to be doing this. I should have asked for a stunt double. What can they do but kill me, right?" Oof, gives me chills.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like it.
That's all reported. That's not like filmed or on record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So take that as you will.
Sure.
But, it's still spooky.
Yeah.
Investigators of the accident found a myriad of problems with the set and the production. Mm-hmm. The children, even being on that set, was completely illegal.
Yeah.
Child labor laws would not have let them be there so late, and no on-set child welfare worker would have let those kids work so close to fire, explosions, and a helicopter. Mm-hmm. The children were kids of mutual friends of director John Landis and associate producer George Folsey Jr. They kept the kids' names out of any official paperwork and paid them in petty cash.
That's wrong.
Yeah. They were also immigrants and did not have proper work permits. According to an article in the New York Times, a production secretary recalled Landis joking of the scheme, saying, "We're all going to jail."
Ugh, I hate all of this.
It's disgusting. Oh, and my next sentence I wrote, Landis was a shit-tastic director and was prone to throwing fits and screaming at everyone.
Great.
He didn't want to listen to anyone and would ignore advice, especially when crew members raised concerns about safety on set.
Great. Sounds like a super awesome leader.
Sound familiar? Friedkin. For instance, during one of the scenes, he didn't like the sound of fake gunfire, so he demanded that they use live rounds.
Hate it.
Regarding the helicopter scene, the communication between the director, special effects crew, and helicopter pilot was just like a mishmash.
I feel like if you're working on that set, you kind of want to know that you're going to be safe.
Right.
I feel like all those people involved, the fact that these are grown-ass adults that are just like, sure, okay, that sounds fine to me.
And then they're bending to the will of this, like, dictator director.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's some more in here.
Sure.
I'll just keep going. So this actually went to trial on July 23rd, 1986, which is like 4 years after the fact that it happened in Los Angeles. So 5 people working on the movie were charged with involuntary manslaughter. Director John Landis, special effects coordinator Paul Stewart, associate producer George Folsey Jr., production manager Dan Allingham, and stunt helicopter pilot Dorsey Wingo. Landis, Folsey, and Allingham were also charged with violating the child labor laws in California by bringing the children onto set after 6:30 p.m. All 5 of the defendants pled or pleaded. I forget.
You know what? I think it can be both because I've seen it both ways.
All 5 of the defendants pleaded not guilty to the involuntary manslaughter charge.
Ugh.
The chief prosecutor was Leah Perwin de Agostino, a deputy Los Angeles district attorney at the time who was nicknamed the Dragon Lady.
Oh.
Because of her sharp style and going all out on theatrics for her cases. She sounds like a boss bitch. And I think it was just the dumb, sexist news media who was like, she's a dragon because she's harsh.
Right.
So, like, fuck them. She's amazing. I love everything she said in this case.
Okay, great.
She said that the prosecution would move forward on the basis of gross negligence, placing the actors in an inherently dangerous situation. The case was presided over by Judge Roger W. Borden. Landis brought in a highbrow lawyer, James Neal, who was a former Watergate prosecutor who won acquittal for the Ford Motor Company in 1980 for an exploding Pinto sedan case.
Oh.
So getting shitty people off.
Oh, right.
Off of...
My mind didn't even go there on that one.
He's not great news.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like it.
Special effects technician on the movie, James Camomile. It's chamomile. Camomile. That's chamomile or chamomile?
I could go with either.
I'm going to say chamomile.
Okay.
I don't
because chamomile sounds too nice.
I feel like chamomile has an H in there somewhere.
It does.
Okay, this doesn't.
Okay.
So he testified in a trial after the accident that he was more focused on the safety of the actors and did not look up at the helicopter before setting off the explosives.
How can you say you're focused on the safety of the actors and not bother to look up at the stunt?
Well, here's the thing. Chamomile was never told that the helicopter would be brought in at a height of just 24 feet.
Why wasn't he told that? This is all so fucked up.
He testified in court that if he had known that, it would have most likely affected his decision to place the bombs where he did.
This is awful.
He didn't know the flight path of the helicopter either. However, Chamomile later went on to say that he set some of the explosions off probably a little too early.
Ugh.
According to the New York Times articles I read, he wasn't a very reliable witness. He was kind of changing up stories, I think, just to save his own ass. It sounds
of course, it sounds like these were a bunch of grown-ass men all trying to save their own ass.
Up, yeah. So Mark Chen, father of 6-year-old Renee Shinyi Chen, killed in the accident, testified during the trial that he had not been told that his daughter would be filmed amid explosions or beneath a hovering helicopter. Mark's brother Peter was a friend of Donna Schumann, who was a production secretary for the movie, and approached him about using Renee in the movie. Chen said that associate producer George Folsey Jr. told him that an actor would carry his daughter across a river. That's it.
Wow.
Mr. Chen and his wife were given $500 in cash after the first round of filming with their daughter. They were told that they would get more when they returned to the set. Someone came to get the kids from a trailer where they had been sleeping, and that's the last time Chen saw his daughter alive.
Oh.
I think from what I read, it sounds like the parents stayed in the trailer.
In the trailer.
Because it was so late and they had all been sleeping because
Oh my
production
God.
came and got them. From what I read, it sounds like they had been shooting earlier in the day, but the kids were like laughing during filming and kind of giggling, and they weren't able to get the shots they needed.
I
so
see.
They just
so they
kept
blamed it on the
going.
kids.
Sounds like it.
Oh my God.
The trial lasted a total of 10 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Landis testified that he had seen nothing inherently dangerous in plans for the scene.
Okay. We have to stop. Yeah, it's totally weird.
totally
there was
fine.
this helicopter that was going to be flying super close to people's heads, and we were going to have some bombs going off. P.S. They are in a river. I just don't see anything wrong with it.
It's a
Excuse me?
It's a hot mess. Explosions, helicopters, water, kids,
What?
blades.
Oh my God.
People don't know what negligent people.
This makes me so angry.
So he gave a tearful testimony.
Sure, he did.
But it contradicted accounts of more than a dozen witnesses on the events that led to the crash. So D'Agostino tried to tell the jury that no responsible movie director would have even put those actors in that dangerous situation to begin with.
Exactly.
She knows what she's talking about. She knows her shit. The defense tried to convince the jury that the helicopter was disabled by heat damage to the tail rotor during special effects explosions, which resulted in the crash. True. And that could not have been foreseen.
I have thoughts.
They were on the freak accident train.
Right.
And it sounded like the jury was a little bit starstruck at all of this.
I'm sure.
It's the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Regarding the violation of child labor laws and the following civil case that was outside of the criminal charges because they violated these labor laws.
Right.
Warner Brothers, John Landis, George Folsey Jr., and Dan Allingham were all found in violation of putting those kids in dangerous situations.
Good, because they did.
They were appealing those civil violations, but they dropped their appeals against them and paid $20,000 in fines each, which is like over $80,000. This had no impact on the criminal charges, however, a separate case. I mean, same case, but separate. The families also filed civil suits against Landis and several other defendants associated with the movie. The lawsuits had sought damages of more than $200 million from the defendants. Agreements were reached in 1987. So I kept looking for what those settlements were. I can't find it. It's not, I don't
Maybe
think it's
it wasn't made public.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything concrete. The settlement suit was sealed by the courts at the time. So it doesn't look like that info ever was made public.
Okay.
But I did read somewhere that allegedly it was $850,000, but I think that might be a rumor.
Okay.
Jennifer Jason Leigh and her sister Carrie Ann Morrow filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Warner Brothers, Landis, and Spielberg.
Oh.
Because he was a producer on the movie, and they settled out of court a year later.
That's kind of like with the Rust shooting with Alec Baldwin, because not only was he the one holding the gun,
right.
but, well, we don't know if he pulled the trigger, but he was also a producer. So it was like, well, maybe he's not going to be guilty of this, but because he's a producer, he's going to face this. It's interesting, even though maybe with Spielberg specifically, he probably wasn't even on the set that day. He might not have known what was happening, but because he's a producer, you are at the top of all of those decisions. Yeah. So when kids are brought in, you're going to know that. You're going to know if they're illegal. You're going to know about the paperwork. You're going to know what's happening. You're going to know what time they're shooting. So that's the thing. It's like he was part of this case, and he was a producer on it, and people died.
Yeah.
Everyone that was on the helicopter, did they all survive?
So they survived, yes. They were all injured.
Okay.
I don't know to what extent, but yeah, they were all injured, but they didn't perish.
Wow.
No. So in the end of the trial, all 5 were acquitted of involuntary manslaughter in the connection with the deaths. It took the jury 9 days to reach a verdict in the case. Court clerk Sylvia Feline read out the words "not guilty" 15 times, enumerating each count against the 5 defendants. In an article by the New York Times, it was reported that the 5 defendants exchanged warm hugs
Gross.
with the jury members.
Ew, with the jury?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say with each other.
No.
Gross. This makes me so mad because, yes, I do think it was a starstruck situation.
I do too.
Because clearly there were people on there that felt that they should have been found guilty if it took them 9 days.
If it took them 9 days, yeah.
But in the end, celebrity wins.
Yeah.
That makes me so angry.
Yep. The jury went on to say that they settled on an acquittal because the prosecution... Listen to this shit.
Okay.
Because the prosecution, while presenting 72 witnesses,
That's
could
a lot of
not
witnesses.
have foreseen the crash and deemed it an unforeseeable accident.
It is not unforeseeable when you are literally the ones setting up the scene.
Right.
Oh my God.
So ridiculous. It's
Ugh,
awful.
This makes me so angry because it's so preventable.
It is. Oh, absolutely. And this case went on to, kind of be a marker for change in the film community. Mrs. DiAugustino was pissed.
Well, yeah.
And said a more fitting charge for Landis would be second-degree murder. And she said, "I'm shocked, appalled, and disappointed."
I am too.
Yeah, I get it. And she looked amazing while saying it.
There you go. Because she's a queen boss.
Right. I love her. I hope she's not garbage for some reason.
Yeah.
In her career.
And we're just like
I
praising
like
her.
her in this instance.
Got it. Just in case she's a
something-
shitbag in other instances.
I'm going to look her up. The trial was a big deal in Hollywood at the time, and it generated a lot of buzz and apprehension in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It made the Directors Guild of America create a safety committee to work on safety guidelines.
Isn't that insane that there wasn't one?
Right. Oh my God.
Like, let that sink in.
Oh no. There were also a bunch of new safety standards around using helicopters on set from the FAA, the DGA Directors Guild, Warner's, and the Office of the State Fire Marshal.
Okay.
This is also garbage, Kate. I really hate this.
Oh, no.
It makes my stomach sick. A
Lay it
bunch
on
of
me.
directors in Hollywood at the time rallied behind John Landis in an open letter of support, which I think was in Rolling Stone. I couldn't find the letter.
Okay.
But it did happen because numerous sources talk about it. This included 16 directors total, including
Oh, no.
names like Francis Ford Coppola, Ron Howard,
Oh, my God.
John Huston, George Lucas, Sidney Lumet, and Billy Wilder.
Wow. They were all like,
They're like, don't punish him. It's
they're
not
like,
his
yeah,
fault.
he's the reason 3 people died, but like, he's so
Who
good.
cares? Oh, fuckers.
You know what
However-
that reminds me of?
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
you know what it reminds me
What?
of? Because this just came out that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote letters in support of Danny Masterson's character. Danny Masterson was just convicted of
Oh my
rape
God.
and was sentenced to 30 years to life.
Right.
Yeah, and they had written letters so that the judge would hopefully give him a leaner sentence.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew, no.
Isn't that gross?
Fuck. We're all just living amongst piles of garbage.
Are we okay, people?
I don't think we are.
We're not.
Not at all. The gremlin is back.
There he is.
No.
Don't take Kevin. He's not done with his episode.
I only have a few more paragraphs. Actually, one. Well, that went quick. Notice that Spielberg's name's not in those list of directors. Landis was still directing all over the place after the accident.
Sure, of course he was.
And during the trial.
Oh my God.
He was hired by Eddie Murphy to direct the 1988 comedy Coming to America.
Oh
just-
my God.
Just after the trial had ended.
Isn't that wild?
Men.
Oh.
His career eventually started to slow down, and he's alive and still directing to this day.
Oh, great. So he's probably
Um,
going to come after us now.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
It's okay.
I mean, this is all like on record.
yeah,
and
I know.
stuff.
We're fine.
And his most recent credit is the TV series Stan Lee's, which is why I earlier when you were like, "Did he play Stan Lee?"
and you
I
were
was
like, what?
"What? No." The TV series Stan Lee's Superhero Kindergarten.
I have never heard of that. Superhero kindergarten?
Yeah. But yeah, Spielberg fucking hated Landis after this.
Good.
He was like, this guy's garbage. I don't want to quote him or anything because I'd need to go back and look what he said exactly. But he basically summed it up saying, like, I learned a lot and grew from this, like, to be more safe. And I don't want to deal with people who put people in jeopardy like that.
Okay, well, good.
He ended their friendship, cut off contact, and was like, fuck off, bitch.
Good. Well, then that makes me feel a little bit better about Spielberg through all this.
Yeah.
It also makes me think maybe he was not fully aware of what was happening and trusted Landis.
I think he gave it over, a lot of the power over to these four directors.
Well, he was one of the directors.
Well, he was one of the directors as well. So it's kind of like they're shooting the four separate things, plus the prologue, which Landis wrote and directed.
But it makes me think maybe he just trusted those directors. They were very,
he got burned by it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yikes. So that, Kate, is the tragic death of Vic Morrow, Micah Dinley, and Renee Shin-Yi Chen during the filming of the Twilight Zone movie.
That is so sad. I just think about, like, those kids. Like, you're probably so excited because you're going to be in a big Hollywood movie and you get to meet famous people. And
I mean, you get to go. I mean, I can't even imagine as a kid, like, walking onto a set where it's just, like, all this, like, fire and water. And
you're probably like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. And I'm sure they were having fun. They were laughing and giggling.
Yeah.
And
they have a trailer and they get to hang out. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It just... it breaks my heart.
It's insane. And also, I'll recommend to listeners, on Shudder, there's a series called Cursed Films, and this is covered in one of those episodes.
But it's definitely not cursed. It's just...
It's not cursed. It's just people being fucking stupid.
And negligent.
Negligence, right?
Yeah.
These are the days of... Oh, that's the wrong thing. Sorry.
I was like, that sounds...
That's Days of Our Lives.